as you and I both well know, I think, and as Victor Cha has said yesterday, and lots of people say, that the only choices available to us and to the world on North Korea are bad choices and bad choices, and or you could even say bad and worse choices if you want to be more elegant about it. And Cha also kind of spelled out in a very nice presentation here the paradox or the dilemma that North Korea faces, which is, and it reminds me of Ian Bremmer's J-curve idea. Essentially, North Korea needs to open up in order to reform, right? But in doing so, in opening up, it puts itself at great risk to severe instability, collapse, a mass exodus, radical capital flows, all types of things, foreign ideas. So the third son, which the CIA calls the cute one of the three great leaders, it kind of doesn't. What Cha was saying was it doesn't really matter anymore if you're a reformer or reformist or a conservative or whatever. It just matters if you can maintain power. And with this situation where we have actually three sons from three different marriages in North Korea as candidates for the next for the succession.
Well, it was declared. I thought that the North Korean, the third one, as you said.
Well,
in North Korea.
As you said, it's hard to know whether this is the beginning of the succession process or the end of it. It's hard to know anything. And look, when you have three different candidates for succession and no obvious way of determining a process, there's no democracy. Obviously, there's no legitimate process. You can expect, I think, at a greater degree and a greater likelihood than ever, prospects for some kind of instability in North Korea. So then we think about, okay, this ongoing debate, which you and I have had. We've had this talk before. We've heard it from our Chinese friends. It came up last night at the Cha talk, and also Bolton, the Bush administration, Josh Bolton's famous expressions about whether the Chinese really have influence over North Korea. Now, as far as I can tell, over the past few years, talking to Chinese people, the official line is now we don't have any influence over North Korea. Although we know in all practical terms that they have the greatest amount of influence, and yet at the same time they have the greatest amount of at stake because they're neighbors. So in a sense, they have the greatest amount of influence and the least amount of influence, right? And one more point is another point is Cha also mentioned these sort of back channels. I mean, even if we do sanctions and we do if China cuts off aid or trade or does other things to try to punish North Korea, what about China's diplomatic channels? Do you think the Chinese are being completely forthcoming on how much influence they have in North Korea?
Okay, well, let me begin with the first comment you made. I would disagree. I don't think the DPRK is going to collapse. I don't think we're going to see a leadership struggle. I'm not an expert in the DPRK per se, but I have to think that we're going to see more of the same, more of what we've seen in the past. We're going to see we're going to see a path-dependent approach.
Yeah.
For the same reason we see it in China, because those people in power know that they're all in the boat together. And they can quarrel amongst themselves among petty issues, but at the end of the day, they can't overturn the vote. And so we may see some quarreling. when I talk about we seeing, I mean, there may be some. I don't know if we'll even see it, even if there was. But I think, and this is not a mainstream position, but that there is going to become there will come a day of reckoning on North Korea, and that day of reckoning will have to include a cooperative arrangement, and it may well include a military arrangement, and it will have to be a joint arrangement, but it will likely have military component to it. It's not going to fall apart. That was the folly of the 90s. It's held together by guns and fear. And those types of regimes can last as long as that kind of. I mean, look at Burma. It's only getting worse. And look at the Chinese supporting Burma, at every chance they get, and encouraging India and Russia and others. So,
do you think
I don't think that's going to change.
Do you think that this is a general